very warm welcome. I would like to welcome our speaker today, and it's really a pleasure to have Dhyani Maria Kovar on the call. Dhyani Maria has been a humanistic therapist for 35 years. She has been working with trauma resolution-oriented approaches, such as somatic experiencing. She also works with couples and does courses for couples, and is also a mentor for self-reflection and mindfulness. So great to have you on the call. Dhyani Maria.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to our interview.
Wonderful. So the first question is that because we live in times that are kind of specific and that they can put more demand on our resilience. And I would be curious to hear your take or your experience, like how we can support our resilience in these times.
Yes, I mean, it's in a way not only in these times, but in a way it's always good to come back to also inner resources and to resources, to have the perspective of the goodness. Yeah, because with all the news and the war and Corona, it's bringing so much attention into fear and separation and negativity, that it's really to see how much of information of the negative can I take. Yeah, it's not to not see the news at all, but usually the news bombard us with so much negativity that it's good to titrate it. Titrate meaning in really portion it into small pieces, so that maybe so much negative I can take, and then my life consists of so much positive. Yeah, and then in times where social connection is difficult, to really how you say, cultivate and nourish this, because connection and loving, respectful relations are so important for our well-being and our resilience. Yeah, so even if it's not possible to meet physically, okay, then the means of Zoom and Skype, where we can at least see each other, is better than nothing. Yeah, but if we can have real connections, that's the best. Yeah, so
wonderful. So looking in the direction of our resources and at the same time cultivating human connections is what can increase our resilience.
And cultivating really because the negative can be such a pull. It can be such in German it's Sog. It can have such it can become an addiction to people to scroll the news and the anti-corona, for corona, I mean the anti-vaccination, for vaccination. People can get so sucked into a certain topic that they forgot. It's like an addiction to feed on the negative social media. Yeah, that's not healthy.
So it's like building up also like other directions, maybe other habits to create some balance also in our lives. And because my interest is also in mediation and conflict resolution, where I also use the tool of nonviolent communication, and because also you said that it's important to cultivate human connections. And sometimes the situations that we're in can put a strain on our relationships. For example, if we're in a couple relationship. And I would like to know, like, what your experience is working with couples. How can we increase our resilience, our ability to get from conflict to connection as a couple?
That's a very good question, and also very important. It's something I always come across, that very often the conflict is happening out of miscommunication. Yeah, or that then when somebody proclaims wants something from the other and the other one is withdrawing more and more. Yeah, so and then this pattern is repeating, or a fight happens and people and the couple cannot get, you know, out of the verbalization. And here I find it's very important. There are certain different aspects which are very important. One is to also understand how our nervous system works in trauma, like when, like one partner maybe accidentally pushes a trigger point or a red point in the partner, and the partner goes into a wound of the past. You know, maybe they go into a freeze. Usually, what happens in a freeze, the neocortex, the mind closes like this. And then the other partner gets like, you don't understand me? I'm saying this and this. Get it? You know, the more the other partner goes into a freeze, the more the other one is like trying to reach. And it's not possible with neocortical communication, because a freeze means that the nothing goes into the neocortex. It's a state of where we are in a way coming back to, yeah, very early parts in us which were hurt, or maybe other also later in life things can happen, but a freeze means we cannot function anymore. And what we would need to come out of that and to be able to communicate is safety, containment, and love. But of course, if the other partner is like aroused, you know, there's no way out at that moment together. Yeah, so either the partner who's aroused and one of the partners is in freeze, either the partner who's aroused realizes, oh, that's happening, and we won't get any centimeter further in this. So either that person can self-regulate and just hold and love the other person, and it only needs time for the other one to get out of freeze. Or if that is not possible, then it's better to distance. You know, distance in the sense of that when the energy and the fire is high in one, that he or she can cool down, and that the one who is in freeze can slowly come out of freeze. And for that, time is needed. And if it's not possible together, it's better alone. And then to meet again when both have come to a balanced state of being again. Yeah. And very often, in terms of communication, I'm saying communication is not only cortical, you know, it's very important sometimes how the intonation is. Yeah, the intonation will reach the person when you say, ah, yes, you know, where maybe the words you use make not really sense, but the energy or the state that is transmitted is that one of love and calmness and containment, and that is then reaching other areas of our brain, which is the limbic, which is for the emotions, and the reptilian part of the brain, the instinctive brain. They then respond and can calm down. Yeah, and then with them calming down, it's again more possible to receive words and to communicate on the level of wording. Yeah, so I find that
Yes.
very interesting, and to also bring this understanding about. No?
Yes, yes, thank you very much. So, when we are aroused in situations that are getting more stressful, it affects our ability to actually hear each other, and the
Yes.
part of our brain that is responsible for language and interpreting language is more limited.
Yes.
So then you mentioned that it's good to either like separate and get some time to be able to calm down, or to provide some safety, containment, and calmness for the other, if I'm able to do that, which in these situations is challenging. And
Often not. Yeah.
maybe not all of our viewers our listeners know what it means to contain, or like, could you say a bit more about what containment is and what you mean by self-regulation?
Yes, yes, I will do so because it's interesting. I'm just busy with offering a course on containment, so I'm preparing that. And I was
Okay.
aware of that containment is a word that is maybe often not understood. Okay, so if you see the word itself, it means it comes from container. Yeah, so when you have, for example, a parent with a child, the child often, you see a mother with a baby, the baby is maybe crying, and the mother is like soothing it. It does these movements and says, like what I said about the intonation. It doesn't matter what word she says because the baby doesn't understand yet. But all of this, it's a certain rhythm she provides, it's a certain, it's a holding how she holds the baby. She really creates a safe space and filled with love and affection and then the baby can calm down. And that's what containing means. Yeah. Also, when you have, for example, an older child, then containing is very much to create safe boundaries. Yeah. Containment has a lot to do with safe boundaries because there can be boundaries which are too strict or even, not healthy boundaries. But containment is providing also like no or I'm here for you, and to provide a clear a clear container so that the other one can feel safe. And it's also in a way, certain rules even. Yeah, it's also a part of containing. Yeah, or giving daily a certain daily structure that can also really be very helpful in times of chaos to have a very healthy, nice structure at home. Waking up at this time, going to bed at this time, and not letting the children up until they go to sleep. Then they would get not enough sleep and they would suffer in school. Yeah, so containment is also in a way regulating from an outer perspective so that the other one, whether it's a child parent relationship or a couple relationship, to have a clarity of how we relate with each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's containment, I would say.
Wonderful. So thank you. So if I have an example, I just want to check. So for example, with a partner, we're noticing we're getting more aroused and we're not able to hear each other as much as we would like. And is it also a form of containment when one partner, maybe the slightly more aware one in that situation, says like, okay, it's late now in the evening, and I don't see us getting anywhere further. I think we both need to maybe calm down. Would it be okay to come back to this topic when we're more rested? So is that also a way of containing then?
Yes, absolutely. That's a way of containment. And in a way, containment already provides self-regulation because with containment, something in the nervous system can, and it's better to come down again and then to start again, maybe on the same topic from not an aroused state.
Yeah. So would you say that self-regulation is the ability maybe to notice in myself when I'm aroused and to be able to kind of consciously return into a state of calmness?
Yes, basically, yes. But also people who are like who are very aroused generally or who are more dissociated, they can create an ability and an awareness of orienting where they are. And maybe even orienting that their nervous system is not able to meet big challenges without being stressed. also such people can be self-regulated by knowing, by orienting and knowing where they are. And from that point of accepting where I am here and now, then to see what small waves I can do without being hyper aroused or without going into dissociation. So that is possible from any point, no matter how resilient somebody is. And resilient means how much capacity somebody has for, yeah, for holding big charges, or yeah, some have a big container and others more a small one.
Okay.
Yeah, but it doesn't say anything about how we are as humans, or that we are, yeah. So it's more really to be able to orient where I am at now, and bringing consciousness and awareness into it. No?
So this is something that we can maybe also learn or develop as a habit. I'm just imagining a situation where I'm kind of trying to cook a Sunday lunch. My child is talking to me, my partner is asking question. I need to kind of, my attention is divided, and I see my like level of stress increasing. So when you mention orientation, is it like, would that be just to kind of look around and just to notice, okay, now I see I can feel some pressure in my solar plexus, and just take a breath, or just like, if whether it's really like noticing the physical space around me.
Yes, that's a wonderful example, yeah, because the loss of connection with the here and now is also one definition of what trauma is. So the more traumatized and the more stressed we are, the less we can be in the here and now. So what you just described is one way of, yeah, so to when you recognize, oh, I'm getting stressed and it's not easy, and too much pulling my attention, and then to return to this. And maybe even you are capable to say, oh, sweetheart, to your partner, can you just take care of our child, because I cannot focus on the cooking so much. Or yeah, to maybe also being able to reach out for help in that moment. No? Yeah,
Wonderful.
so, and that's where I find meditation so important, and self-reflection, because it's all tools and mindfulness tools to support the widening of the here and now.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So in a way, it's like a combination of this
Indeed.
ability to observe without maybe interfering, and to also observe what is happening in my, on the level of feelings or physiology. So that is something that can support us when we cultivate that ability.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah. Mm.
So, and I would be also curious to know what advice you would have, or what is your experience for people who find themselves in the role of mediators, like working with couples, like how to approach that when we are in that, in a way, triad, when we're trying to offer our skills as informal mediators, for example. What is good to keep in mind? Because I would like this to also serve the participants of my courses for mediation and conflict resolution skills.
Two things come to me, and one is like how important also in a couple I find the ability to communicate from the I base, so that not always, the more it comes into you da 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 da, it becomes like an attack, where then the other has to somehow either defend or run away. Yeah, so it's a very biological response. So that's one thing. And to this running away and or attacking, defending, we come to another important point, which is the body, or to also cultivate that while we communicate, to keep the inner ability of tracking what is happening in myself, yeah, to not only have the attention outside, but also to be at the same time rooted in myself. So this I find also very important, this two-sided awareness, like outer and inner. The outer would mean one is totally lost into, you do this, blah, 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 blah. There, the inner is totally missing. Yeah, so, and when you bring those two together, it becomes a more it becomes a more embodied communication. Yeah, and this I find important.
Yes, yes. So on the one hand, I hear that expressing from myself, using these like I statements, what's going on for me, how I feel, what I would need differently. It's a way to add, like contribute to more safety in the situation with the other.
Yes.
And at the same time to maintain this dual awareness. That means not only to focus on what's going on in the outside, but also tracking what's happening in my physiology. And that is a way to handle it.
Yes.
And do you mean that can also support us in the role of the third side that is there to support when there are two people in conflict?
Yes, absolutely. Because I mean, there is that's my experience, like how the mediator or the third person really, by self-regulating or by really being aware what's going on inside of oneself, and to return to a more calm and balanced state of being, it affects the couple or the other person. Yeah, and there's a lot of theory published on by Stephen Porges on the ventral vagal system. It basically means that just our pure presence enables already a better functioning of a better flow and a better functioning of communication in the others. Yeah, and it's quite magical. And it's not only Stephen Porges who said it, all the spiritual teachers or masters in this world, they really talk about presence. And that's what presence really means, like to provide this safe anchor in the here and now, which, as I said before, the loss of capacity to be in the here and now is where we have our wounds or traumas. And so the present provides a safety and like already, yeah, an anchor for the people to come to when they start to get lost in some extremes or wounds or identifications. Yeah.
Yeah, wonderful. And you touched upon this also, like spiritual dimension of the work. And I just wonder, how does your spiritual practice or spirituality support you in what you do? So, for example, when you work with people who have experienced trauma, or you work with couples, how does that come in?
Yeah. It's because I mean, I started my whole path with meditation already when I was 20. Yeah. So that even I did before I went into therapy, which I found always very good because it really always had in focus the ability to be in the here and now, no matter how tough or hard our life can be, or with loss or sickness. Yeah, and it does strengthen a certain anchor or connection with the here and now. And at the same time, this spiritual aspect of it, which means like to really be able to be in a embodied state of being in the here and now and an aware state, it really goes into the areas of quantum physics. Yeah, where really just very often then the tools we learned in order to work with people, maybe sometimes we just think in a certain direction, and if it has a healing force, it can already have an effect on people. Yeah, so I realize in my work that I come to a point of doing less and less, Yes, and or little interventions can have a big effect.
Mm.
And that is what this rootedness in the here and now and the presence does, yeah, or this cultivating spirituality in that way.
Yeah, yeah, wonderful. Doing less. So that brings me also to the questions, like what are the some more most interesting, creative, out of the box interventions that you have experienced either yourself being in a situation with somebody where there was a bit more conflict or heat involved, or when you were holding space for others?
Mm-hmm.
If you can think of something like that.
Yeah, a few come into my mind, and one is really like Zen approach. It's like a paradoxical interventions. Yeah. Now, if you have a couple totally in fight, and then somebody in the moment realizes, hey, what we are doing here, it's totally ridiculous, and starts laughing, you know, or you bringing humor in. I mean, it can be that it triggers the other one even more, but it can also do the opposite. That, by taking the air out or the charge out suddenly through a paradoxical intervention, through doing something unexpected or the opposite, it can suddenly resolve. Yeah, it's like a quantum jump. You leave one level and you turn to something totally different, positive, and that then can create this in a way a little spiritual uh, experience of suddenly being out of the box of the fight, yeah, or suddenly being out of the box of some pain, or yeah. So that's something I really love. And then a few days ago I had a couple, they were lost in some fight issues or boundary issues, yeah. So and then I did something very small, yeah. I had each of them experience when the other one, first I was saying to each one of them just a word, yes, 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 and that they then feel how the yes arrives. And then I did the no, no, no. And you could see little effect. Yeah. So because I said it. Yeah. And then I had them turn to each other and do the same exercise with each other. Wow, we suddenly had big effects. Yeah. So the yes was like very, and the no, yeah, for one was very difficult. For the other one, it was like, oh, finally, I have my own space. I can say no without having the fear that the other one leaves me. Yeah, so it really was showing what there was attached for both of them in their fights. Just such a little small thing with yes and no, and to that just experience in a neutral space what is happening when this yes or no arrives, how I'm feeling, how I'm receiving it in my body, how I understand it. Yeah, so to give each other the experience of that, and so much is seen in such a little intervention. No?
Yeah, wonderful. So is it that you had one of them like express themselves and the other one would respond either with a yes or with a no? Just for my clarity.
Yeah, no, how I did it was without content. I just said, yeah, they turned to each other, and then one would be just receptive, and the other one would first go, just say yes, 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 and then
Okay, so it's just the words. Yeah.
just the words, without any content, neutral.
Yeah.
And the other one would just receive it and then share the effect of that.
Yes.
Yeah. And then the same thing with the no.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then usually, if it would be difficult, I would then start with a yes, come to the no, finish with a yes. Yeah. And then change over.
Yeah.
And the other partner is receptive, and the one says, yeah, yes, yes, yes. The one feels what these words does from the partner, and the no, no, no. And there you have a neutral, safe space without content, because the content makes it more difficult and more abstract.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
Wonderful. So
that's
it's like a
something
way
simple.
of playing with it in a kind
Yeah.
of a safer, more neutral way. Well,
Yeah.
I'm so much enjoying this conversation, and I'm wondering, what do you think could contribute to increasing our societal resilience, because I mean, part of my intention in holding these interviews is like, how can I, from my perspective, from my capacity, contribute to peace, to greater resilience, to our ability to get back to connection after we disconnect. So what would contribute on the kind of a larger level in your view?
It's interesting because we come with this question, we come again back to how we began this interview a little bit, yeah? And it's just from a different perspective, because how I see peace can be contributed is by cultivating it in yourself. Yeah, or really, it's not disconnecting from the world and withdrawing into the mountains where I am now, but I'm not withdrawing. But it's in a way, again, how much exposure to the difficulties and the world I can handle. Of course, if we have children or we are in a job outside, sometimes we cannot decide how much exposure we can have, but we can have at least the control over our free time. Yeah, and when we are come exhausted from the work, then it's very important to then nourish and our how we feel, our body, our mind, our connection, our um, um, awareness. And of course, when we have a job where we can control a lot, it's different. Yeah. So it's really, really very important to cultivate this um, awareness of where we don't get over flooded with a social negative impact. Yeah. So, and of course, I'm also, uh, everybody can contribute in their own way. Some people, friends of mine, they say, no, I'm, I'm not flying anymore when I travel because I want to contribute to CO2 emission. Well, I love traveling. I will continue to fly, but at the same time, um, how can I contribute in my environment? Like by being aware of how much garbage I produce. I just little things, and I think it's all individual, and there is no have to for anyone. It's just really taking responsibility for our life and to, in a way, at how we can to also the community, if this is possible. No.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you very much, Dhyani. It was a pleasure to have this talk with you. And I'm wondering if there's anything else you would like to say related to this topic.
Yeah, I mean, I love this interview, and I could always go on, but I mean, it has a certain time frame. So no, I feel really also you contribute by doing these interviews and to allowing more people to see, yeah, to watch it and to be inspired. So I love to be a source of inspiration and share my life experience or my my insights there. So that's nice that I can do that.
Thank you. It was wonderful to have you on the call, and thank you for sharing your knowledge and your experience.
On my side, same. Thank you.
Bye.